Act 3 of He and She by Rachel Crothers. Time, half an hour later. Scene, same as Act 2. Ruth is writing at the desk. Daisy opens the hall door and stops, listening back into the hall. What's the matter?
Nothing. I was looking to see who went up the stairs. It's Dr. Remington.
How's Millicent now?
Anne's with her, getting her to bed.
Do you know yet why she came home?
I don't know whether Anne's got it out of her yet or not.
What do you think? Why on earth didn't she tell them at school?
I haven't the dimmest, but she didn't do it without some good reason. I'll bet anything on that. Millicent's a pretty level-headed youngster.
She's a pretty self-willed one. Anne will send her right back, of course.
I don't know whether she will or not. Millicent's got some rather decided ideas of her own on that.
But she'll have to go. Why shouldn't she? Anne will make her.
Tom will have something to say about it.
It's for Anne to decide, surely.
Not at all. I don't see why. She is Tom's child too, you know. And this is his house, and he pays the bills at school. And if he doesn't want her to go back, you can bet she jolly well won't go. I only hope Millicent tells the whole business, whatever it is. Anne is so excited over the freeze, I don't know whether she'll have the patience to handle Millicent right or not. She's not easy.
It's awful for Anne to be upset now, of all times, when she has to begin this gigantic work.
Oh, I wish that damned freeze were in Guinea and that Anne had nothing to do but take care of Tom and Millicent, like any other woman. I'd give anything if she hadn't won the competition.
Daisy!
Oh, I would. I have a ghastly feeling that something horrible is going to come of it, if it hasn't already come.
What do you mean?
I tell you, it is not possible for a man and woman to love each other and live together and be happy, unless the man is it.
Speaking of the Dark Ages, you ought to live in a harem. How any girl who makes her own bread and butter can be so old-fashioned as you are, I can't see.
You've got so used to your own ideas, you forget that I am the average normal woman the world is full of.
Nonsense! You're almost extinct. I'm the average normal woman the world is full of, and it's going to be fuller and fuller.
I'll bet on plenty of us left.
Indicating herself.
On Judgment Day.
I want to laugh when I think how mistaken we've been calling you a bachelor girl. Why, you'd make the best wife of anybody I know.
I suppose you mean that as an insult.
But you seem so self-reliant, men are sort of afraid of you. Remington, coming in from hall and feeling a certain restraint in the two girls.
Am I in the wrong camp?
No.
Come in.
I have to stay someplace. I'm going to hang around till Millicent quiets down, and then I'll clear out.
Is she ill?
Oh no, just a little worked up and excited.
Why do you think she came home, Dr. Remington?
I don't know what to think unless she has boy in the head.
Goodness, no, not yet.
She's 16. You can't choke it off to save your life.
Oh, she's a baby.
Don't fool yourself. She won't wait as long as you two have to sit by her own fireside with children on her knee.
Oh.
That's the only thing in the game that's worth a cent anyway.
As Keith comes in from the hall.
Isn't that so, Keith?
What's that?
I've just been telling these two that love and children are the greatest things on earth. Ruth doesn't agree with me, but Daisy...
I must go.
I must go up to Anne.
Ruth goes out.
Let me go. They both seem terribly anxious to get out when you come in, Keith. Or maybe I'm in the way. I'll go.
Don't be silly. I really must see if I can do anything for Anne.
No, you mustn't. She's waiting for me to see Millicent. By the way, Keith, tomorrow's Sunday. I always take a run into the country in the motor on Sunday. Come along and bring either Ruth or Daisy. Take your choice. I know which one I'd take.
He goes into the hall.
Isn't he a goose?
Would it bore you to go, Daisy?
Nonsense. Ruth will.
It would be awfully good of you. Tomorrow's going to be a hard day for me to get through. Ruth told me tonight that she... I'm afraid it's all over.
Why don't you compromise?
There's nothing to compromise about. She's all wrong. Don't you think so?
Oh, don't ask me. I don't know anything about it.
Wait a minute. Won't you go tomorrow, Daisy?
Ask Ruth. It will be a good chance to make up.
You're so practical and like such different things. Maybe you'd think flying along through the country and Lunching at some nice little out-of-the-way place was too frivolous.
Oh yes, I don't like anything but being shut up in the house all day, pounding at my typewriter and splitting my head to get the bills straight. To actually go off with a man for a whole day and have a little fun like any other woman would be too unheard of. Of course, I couldn't do anything as silly as that.
Oh.
I wouldn't be amusing anyway. Dr. Remington, well, he's 60, and you'd be thinking of Ruth, and I'd sit there like a stick. The sensible, practical woman who couldn't possibly be interesting and fascinating, because no man would take the trouble to find out how devilish and alluring and altogether exciting I could be if I had the chance.
She throws open the door and goes out. Keith stares after her. Tom, coming in from the library after a moment.
I thought you'd gone, Mackenzie.
No, but I'm going.
Remington, coming back from hall.
Good night, Mackenzie. I'll dig you up in the morning, 10 o'clock, sharp, mind. And I'll call for Daisy first.
Keith, at hall door.
All right. Much obliged, Doctor.
Turning back.
How'd you know it was Daisy?
I didn't, but I do now.
Good night.
He goes out.
Well, how is she? How is Millicent?
Oh, she's not ill, but the child's nervous as a witch, all strung up. She's worried about something, got something on her mind, and naturally her head aches and she has a little fever, but that won't hurt her.
Got something on her mind? What?
She didn't confide in me.
What could she have on her mind?
I don't think she's committed murder, but she's got a mind, you know. There's no reason why she shouldn't have something on it.
Well, I don't know what to do with her.
If you think she ought not to go back to school, say so. Tell Anne those are your orders.
I don't give orders to Anne.
The devil you don't. She'd like it. A woman, a dog, and a walnut tree, the more you beat 'em, the better they be.
The walnut tree business doesn't work with Anne. I made a fool of myself tonight by telling her I wouldn't touch the money she gets out of this thing. She doesn't understand. I've made her think I'm jealous because she won.
Well, aren't you?
No, I tell you it's something else. Something sort of gave way under my feet when I opened her letter.
I know.
Doctor, for the Lord's sake, don't think I'm mean. I don't want to drag her back. But she seems somehow... she doesn't need me anymore. That's what hurts.
Of course it hurts.
Much as I've loved to have her with me, working away at my elbow, wonderful as it all was, sometimes I've wished I hadn't seen her all day. That I had her to go home to, fresh and rested, waiting for me, and that I was running the machine alone for her. She'll never understand. I've acted like a skunk.
Yes, I guess you have. So have I. Unjust, pig-headed. No more right to say the things I've said to her than I have to spank her, except that she's the most precious thing in the world to me, and I'd rather see her happy, as a woman, than the greatest artist in the world.
That's it. I want her here, mine. But I suppose that's rotten and wrong.
Yes, I suppose it is. But you're despising yourself for something that's been in your bones, boy, since the beginning of time. Men and women will go through hell over this before it shakes down into shape. You're right, and she's right, and you're tearing each other like mad dogs over it because you love each other.
That's it. If another man had got it, I'd take my licking without whining. What's the matter with me? Why can't I be that way to her?
Remington, shaking his head with a wistful smile.
Male and female created he them. I don't take back any of the stuff I said to her before she went into this. She's fighting you now for her rights, but she laid her genius at your feet once, and she'll do it again if...
Anne, coming in from the hall and speaking after a pause.
Well, Father, what do you say about Millicent?
My advice is that you let her stay at home for a while.
This is only a caprice, and it would be the worst thing in the world to give in to her. Unless you say, as a physician, that she is too ill to.
I don't say she's too ill, physically. You must decide for yourself. I'll go up and see her again, and if she isn't asleep, then I'll give her a mild sleeping powder. Anne, I put her in your arms first, and the look that came into your eyes then was as near divinity as we ever get. Oh, my daughter, don't let the new restlessness and strife of the world about you blind you to the old things, the real things.
He goes out. Anne, after a pause.
You agree with me, don't you? That it's better for her to go back.
Do whatever you think is best.
But what do you think?
It doesn't matter what I think, does it?
Millicent, opening the door.
Mother, aren't you coming back?
Millicent wears a soft robe over her nightgown. Her hair is down her back.
Millicent, why did you get out of bed?
I couldn't sleep.
Running and jumping into the middle of the couch.
Run back, quickly.
In a minute. It's so quiet upstairs I couldn't sleep. I'm used to the girls.
You'll catch cold.
Goodness, Mother, I'm roasting.
Millicent, what shall I do with you?
Is that what you and Dad were talking about? What did Grandfather say? I don't care what he says. I'm not going back to school. You're on my side, aren't you, Dad?
Whatever your mother thinks is right, of course.
Is it true what Daisy told me, that you got the contract for a big freeze and not Father? Is it? Is it, Father?
Looking from one to the other.
Yes, it's quite true.
Millicent, go to bed.
I think that's perfectly horrid, Mother. Why should they give it to you? I think Father ought to have it. He's the man. Don't you think people will think it's funny that you didn't get it? I should think it would make them lose confidence in you.
A pause. Tom stalks out, closing the door.
Is Father hurt because you got it? I should think he would be.
Millicent, I've had quite enough of this. Go up to bed at once.
Will you come up and sleep with me?
Of course not.
Walking about restlessly.
Why not?
Neither one of us would sleep a wink.
That wouldn't matter. I don't want to be alone.
Come now. I won't speak to you again.
What have you decided about school?
I'll tell you in the morning.
I won't go up till you tell me.
Millicent, you will go at once, I say.
Oh, Mother, don't be cross. Sit down and talk a minute.
It's late, dear. You must.
That's nothing. We girls often talk till 12.
Till 12? Do the teachers know it?
Oh, Mother, you're lovely. Don't you suppose they know that they don't know everything that's going on? Come and sit down, Mummy.
No, you must go to bed.
But I won't go back to school.
Anne, going to Millicent, who is still on the couch.
You make it terribly hard for me, Millicent. You don't know what's good for you, of course. I don't expect you to, but I do expect you to be obedient.
But, Mother, I tell you,
Don't be so rebellious. Now, come upstairs, please, dear, and...
But I won't go back to school, Mother dear. I won't.
You say I treat you like a child. You force me to. If you don't want me to punish you, go upstairs at once and don't say another word.
I won't go back.
Stop, I say.
I know what I want to do. I'm 16.
Anne, their voices rising together.
You're my child. You will obey me.
But I won't. You don't understand. I can't, Mother. I can't. I can't.
Why? Why can't you?
Because I'm going to be married.
You silly child.
It's the truth, Mother. I am.
Don't say a thing like that, even in fun.
It's the truth, I tell you. I'm going to be married.
Sometime you are, of course, you mean.
No, now. Soon. That's why I left. That's why I'm not going back.
Anne, after drawing a chair to the couch and sitting before Millicent.
What do you mean?
We're engaged.
He who?
You don't know him.
Who?
He's perfectly wonderful.
Who is he?
Now, Mother, wait. He isn't rich.
Well?
He's poor, but he's perfectly wonderful. He works, and he's so noble about it.
What does he do?
Oh, Mother, it's hard to explain because he's so different.
What does he do?
Well, just now, he drives the motor at school. Because, you see, he's so proud,
Drives the motor? A chauffeur, you mean?
People call him that, of course, but he isn't.
Sit down.
Anne rises.
Mother.
Anne goes to the door and locks it, going back to Millicent, who had risen.
Now, Mother, don't look like that.
Sit down.
Don't look like that. Let me tell you about it.
Anne, sitting again.
Yes, tell me about it.
Oh, I hardly know how to begin.
He drives the motor, The school motor, you say?
Yes, to the trains, you know, and into town, and to church.
Who is his father?
Why, I don't know who he is. I've never met his father.
What is his name?
His father's name I don't know.
The boy's name?
Willie Kern.
How does he happen to drive a motor?
Well, I don't know just how it happened. He's so clever, you know, and of course he isn't really a chauffeur at all.
What is he then?
Oh, Mother, he just happens to run the school motor.
And what did he do before that?
Why, he ran another motor. Oh, now, Mother, you don't understand at all.
She breaks into sobs and throws herself full length on the couch. Anne sits rigidly.
Just because he's poor and clever and drives a motor is no reason why you should act this way.
Sitting up.
He's going to do something else. He's going to come to New York to get a different position, and we'll be married as soon as he gets it. And that's why I came home, to tell you. So there, you see, I can't go back to school.
She rises and starts to the door.
Millicent, come here.
That's all there is to tell. I'm going to bed now.
Anne, rising.
You know this is the most wild and impossible thing in the world.
I don't. It isn't impossible. I'm going to marry him. I love him better than you or Father or anybody in the world, and I'm going to marry him.
Stop. Do you want to disgrace us? How any child of mine could even speak to such a... Oh, the disappointment. Where's your pride? How could you? How could you? Millicent, if you'll promise me to give this up, I won't say a word to your father.
No, I'm going.
Don't unlock that door.
I want to go now.
You'll never see that boy again. Never speak to him, never write to him, never hear of him. I shall send you away where he'll never know.
Millicent, coming back to couch.
You won't. He loves me and I love him. He understands me. All that vacation when you wouldn't let me come home and all the other girls had gone, he was just as good to me as he could be. He knew how lonely I was, and we got engaged that vacation. You wouldn't let me come home.
Millicent, you don't know what you're saying. You don't know what you're doing.
Oh, yes, I do, Mother. It's you that don't know. You don't understand.
Anne, kneeling before Millicent.
My darling, why didn't you tell me this when you said you wanted to come home? Why didn't you tell me then?
Sobbing, Anne buries her face in Millicent's lap.
I would have told you if you'd let me come home, but you wouldn't. And I was so lonely there without the girls, and we got engaged. You don't understand, Mother.
Anne, lifting her face to Millicent.
Oh, yes, I do, dear. Yes, I do. Tell me all about it. When did you first know him? How did you happen to speak to him? I mean, to love him.
Oh, Mother, why I just did. He's so handsome and so nice. You haven't any idea how nice he is, Mother.
Haven't I, dear? What is he like? Tell me everything. How did it begin?
The first time I really knew he was so different, you know.
Yes, dear.
Was one Sunday morning. I was ready for church before anybody else, and I went out to get into the motor and ran down the steps and fell. And he jumped out and picked me up and put me in the motor, and of course I thanked him, and we had to wait quite a while for the others, and I found out how different and really wonderful he was. All the girls were crazy about him. Here's his picture.
Drawing out a locket which is on a chain around her neck.
It's just a little snapshot which I took myself one morning. You can't really tell from this how awfully good-looking he is.
Anne seizes the locket and looks closely at the picture.
His eyes are the most wonderful, and his lashes are the longest I ever saw. You can't see his teeth, and they are... Well, you just love his teeth, Mother.
Would I, dear? Have you seen very much of him? Have you seen him any place besides in the motor, I mean?
Millicent hesitates.
Tell me, dear, everything. I shall understand.
Well, of course, Mother, I had to see him someplace else after school began again, and the girls were all back, and I wasn't going for the mail any more.
Of course. Where did you see him?
Why, you see, it was awfully hard, Mummy, because I couldn't tell anybody. Nobody would have understood, except Fanny. She's such a dear. She's been so sympathetic through the whole thing, and she has helped me a lot. There's a fire escape out of our room, and Mondays and Thursdays at 9 o'clock at night.
Oh.
What, Mother?
Nothing. Go on, dear.
At exactly 9 o'clock I'd put on Fanny's long black coat and go down, and he was always there, and we always went and sat down in the arbor just a little while.
The arbor? Where was the arbor?
Down the path of the other side of the drive, not far from the house, because of course nobody went near there at that time of night, in cold weather, and we'd talk a while, and then I'd run back. You don't mind, do you, Mother? What else could I do?
And he kissed you, of course.
Of course.
And you've kissed him.
Millicent, lowering her eyes.
Why, yes, Mother. We're engaged.
And what did he say to you there in the arbor?
I can't tell you everything he said, Mother.
Why not, Millicent? I'm your mother. No one on earth is so close to you, or loves you so much, or cares so much for your happiness, and understands so well. I remember when I was engaged to your father. I wasn't much older than you. I know, dear. Tell me what he said.
He thinks I'm pretty, Mother.
Yes, dear.
And he thinks I'm wonderful to understand him and to know what he really is in spite of what he happens to be doing.
Yes. And how long did you usually stay there in the arbor?
Oh, not very long. Only last time it was longer. He teased me so and I couldn't help it.
How long was it that time?
Oh, it was almost 2 hours last time.
And what did you do all that time? Wasn't it cold?
He made me put on his overcoat. He just made me.
Anne, holding Millicent close in her arms.
And he held you close and kissed you and told you how much he loved you?
Yes. I love him so, Mother, but tonight was the last night to go again, but
Anne, holding Millicent off as she searches her face.
Yes, dear.
I was afraid to go.
Why?
Oh, Mother, was it wicked to be afraid? I ran away. I wanted to be with you.
Anne snatches Millicent in her arms. Her head falls against Millicent, and Millicent's arms hold her close as she sobs. Someone tries the door and knocks. Tom, in the hall.
Anne? Anne?
Yes?
Why is the door locked?
Millicent and I are talking. Wait just a few minutes. And Tom, tell her grandfather not to wait to see Millicent again tonight. She's all right.
Sure?
I'm sure.
Millicent, in a whisper, after listening a moment.
What are you going to tell Father?
Anne, sitting on the floor.
Well, you see, dear, you're too young to be married now. Much too young. And...
Oh, now, Mother, if you're going to talk in that way, wait till you see him.
That's just what I want to do. I've got such a lovely plan for us for the summer.
But I want to be married just as soon as he gets his...
I know, his position. And while he's looking and getting settled, you and I will go abroad.
You're awfully good, Mother. But if you really want to do something for me, I'd rather you give me that money to be married.
But Millicent, my dear child, I have to go. I'm so tired. I've been working awfully hard this winter. You're the only one in the world who could really be with me and take care of me. I need you.
Poor Mother. I don't want to be selfish, and if you need me, I'll go.
Anne, catching Millicent in her arms.
Thank you, dear.
If you promise me that I can be married when I get back.
Anne, getting to her feet.
If you still want to marry him when you come back with me, you may. I promise.
Mother, I didn't know you loved me so much.
Didn't you, dear? Now go to bed.
They start to the door together. Anne catches Millicent again, kissing her tenderly, as though she were something new and precious.
What's the matter, Mother?
Nothing, dear. Good night.
Good night.
Tom, coming into doorway as Millicent unlocks and opens the door.
Not in bed yet?
Millicent, throwing her arms about her father's neck.
Oh, Dad, I'm so happy.
She goes out. Anne, sitting at the fire.
Come in, Tom. I want to talk to you about Millicent.
Tom, closing the door and going to Anne.
What's the matter?
She thinks she's in love.
What?
Our baby. She wants to be married.
What do you mean?
That's why she came home.
Good heavens, Anne, married? What has she got mixed up in? How did such a thing happen? How could it?
Because I didn't let her come home when she wanted to. Don't say anything, Tom. I can't bear it now.
Tom, putting a hand on her head tenderly.
Don't, dear, don't. It might have happened anyway.
Oh, the things that can happen.
Has she told you everything?
Everything.
What have you said to her? What are you going to do?
I'm going to take her away and win her. Till she gives up on her own free will. I shall have to have the wisdom of all the ages. I shall have to be more fascinating than the boy. That's a pretty big undertaking, Tom. I wonder if I'm equal to it.
You mean you're going to give up your freeze and go away with her?
Anne nods her head.
You can't do it, Anne.
Anne, rising and moving away.
Oh, yes, I can.
You cannot. Don't lose your head. You're pledged to finish it and deliver it at a certain time. You can't play around and lose with a big piece of work like that.
You'll have to make my freeze, Tom.
I will not. I utterly and absolutely refuse to. You make Millicent behave and break this thing up, and you go on with your...
I can't. I can't. She's been in danger, absolute danger.
How?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. She ran away to me, and I was pushing her off. My little girl. She's got to be held tight in my arms and carried through.
And I'm not going to allow this to wipe out what you've done. I'll settle her...
Tom, you can't speak of it to her. Not breathe it.
Of course I will.
No, you won't. If we cross her, she'll get at him some way, somehow.
I'm not going to let you sacrifice yourself for a wayward...
It's my job. She's what I've given to life. If I fail her now, my whole life's a failure. Will you make my freeze, dear? Will you?
No, it's yours. You've got to have the glory of it. Anne, I haven't been fair, but you're going to have this and all that's coming to you. I'm not going to let anything take it away from you. It's too important. My God, you've not only beaten me, you've won over the biggest men in the field, with your own brain and your own hands, in a fair, fine, hard fight. You're cut up now, but if you should give this thing up, there'll be times when you'd eat your heart out to be at work on it, when the artist in you will yell to be let out.
I know. And I'll hate you because you're doing it. And I'll hate myself because I gave it up. And I'll almost hate her. I know. You needn't tell me. Why, I've seen my men and women up there. Their strong limbs stretched, their hair blown back. I've seen the crowd looking up. I've heard people say, "A woman did that?" And my heart has almost burst with pride. Not so much that I had done it, but for all women. But then the door opened, and Millicent came in. There isn't any choice. Tom, she's a part of my body, part of my soul. Will you make my freeze, dear? Will you?
Falling against him. Tom, taking her in his arms.
My darling, I'll do whatever makes it easiest for you. Don't think I don't know all it means to you. My God, it's hard.
Anne, releasing herself and going to the hall door.
Put out the light. I hope she's asleep.
They go out into the lighted hall. After a moment, the curtain falls. End of Act 3. End of He and She by Rachel Crothers.